Hey, what is good, everybody? You guys are tuned in to episode number 149 of the weekly Give and Go, brought to you by thehoopdoctors.com. I go by the name of Kevin Burke. So Phil Jackson is headed to the Knicks to assume the role of president of basketball operations. Listen, as a Knicks fan, I will say this move is splashy, it's cute, it has a lot of shine, a lot of sheen. It is completely overblown and overrated. Yeah, I get it, the man has 11 championships. That's cool, I understand that. What has he ever done as an executive? Is he doing this because he really wants this job? Or is he doing this because he's trying to stick it to the Lakers for essentially choosing Mike D'Antoni over him? I'm choosing the latter. Everything that glitters is not gold. I don't know what is going on with this. And he is reportedly interested in maybe giving Steve Kerr a peek at being head coach of this team. Listen, so you mean to tell me we're going to bring in Phil Jackson, an unknown commodity in the executive world. He's going to bring in Steve Kerr, an unknown commodity in the coaching world, and they're going to both do this as rookies, essentially, in New York City? Nah, that's not how this works. That's going to be a disaster. Steve Kerr's temperament is not conducive to the New York media and the fans of the Knicks. That's just not going to work. My only recollection of, anyone's only recollection of Steve Kerr post, once his career was over, aside from being a broadcaster, was when he was the GM with the Suns. And all I saw Steve Kerr do as GM with the Suns was trade Sean Marion for Shaq on a fast-breaking Phoenix Suns team. You explain that one to me. But you know what this whole thing reminds me of, this Phil Jackson thing? It reminds me of when the Knicks got Larry Brown back in, probably was that 2005, somewhere around there. At the time, Larry Brown was a prized possession, the crown jewel of coaching. Isaiah Thomas did a great thing. That was Isaiah Thomas's best move as president of basketball operations for the Knicks, getting Larry Brown. Fast forward a year later, Brown coached that team into the ground, the worst record in franchise history. It was glittery, it was shiny, but it certainly wasn't gold, and that's what this reminds me of. Temper your expectations. Listen to me, Paul George and Kevin Durant are what's wrong with the NBA. I know that sounds counterintuitive because they're arguably two of the best, 5, 7 players in the NBA, but hear me out. Several years ago when the Thunder lost to the Heat in the finals, that following summer, where was Kevin Durant? He was in the gym with LeBron working out. The same guy who just beat him in the finals, who essentially reduced him to tears. Remember Durant was crying after they lost that Game 5 to the Heat? So he's working out with him to get better. Of course, he received a lot of backlash. He didn't care. He said, you know what? I'm here to get better. Yeah, I get that, but there's something called perception, image. You should care about stuff like that. That was not a good look for Kevin Durant. It showed weakness, in my humble opinion. Paul George, an epic 7-game Eastern Conference Finals last year. The Pacers lose to the Heat. A few weeks ago, Paul George said out loud, I would like LeBron to be my mentor. I'm paraphrasing here. You want LeBron to be your mentor? Really? Why do these guys have to be best friends and be buddies all the time? I don't understand this. And then LeBron, of course, being LeBron, he says, sure, I have no problem with that. I have an open door policy. LeBron is a lot smarter than we're giving him credit for. I mean, think back to that Eastern Conference Finals last year. I think it was Game 1 when LeBron gave Paul George dap. Remember that? He slapped him 5. I call that the dap zone. It's like the Twilight Zone. Because Paul George, for the remainder of that series, he was trapped in the dap zone. He was never consistent offensively since that dap. And that man is still trapped in his dap zone because of comments like this. I want to work with LeBron. No, you should want to beat LeBron. His comment also said, I hope our relationship gets to the point where I can... What? First of all, that doesn't even sound right. I hope our relationship gets to the point where ... Nah, man. You're supposed to want to beat him, not work with him to get better. You should hate this guy's guts respectfully as a player. All this buddy stuff, it's not a good look for the NBA. I grew up with the NBA in the early 90s and stuff like that. This stuff would have never happened. So they got to clean this up. I don't know where this is going. Folks, that's all I got. Podcast number 149 in the books. I'll check you guys out next week. Be good.